Okay, so welcome everyone to the January 2021 Coimbatore Frontend Group Meetup. So, just to give an introduction to the Meetup group, right? So, the Meetup group was initially founded by Ramesh and Karthikeyan. When they saw that there is no specific uh, a forum for front end developers to or front end people to come together, talk about their professional or their hobby related projects and ideas and sort of grow from that. So that is when they came up with the initiative to bring up this meetup group. So from there the meetup group grew to several organizers and volunteers from time to time. And uh, as of now we have more than 1,000 members on the meetup group, who actively participate in the meetups from time to time. We do this on a monthly basis, so it usually happens on the second Saturday of every month. But due to a lot of festivals coming up in the past 2 months, things had to be shifted, and we are having this on the third week for January. So we also have channels on WhatsApp and Telegram. So if you're not yet sorry, it's not WhatsApp, it's only on Telegram as of now. So if you are not already on Telegram, you can get in touch with one of the organizers to get yourself added to the Telegram group. And yeah, so coming to our first speaker for today. So we have Fayaz, who will be presenting to us about design systems. So Fayaz is he's mainly a product designer, a storyteller, and he's a freelancer. So he's recently completed his bachelor's in 2019, and he's currently working as a user interface designer in Timeless Ventures. So you can actually Google up Fayaz, and he has a lot of things he has done on Rebel, Behance, and so on. So you can find a lot of info, and you can also get in touch with Fayaz if you need. Uh, so I'll hand it over to Fayaz to go ahead with the talk. Please, Fayaz.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
yeah. Thanks for the introduction, and good morning to everyone. And thanks to the Coimbatore Frontend Group for arranging me this and giving this opportunity to speak with you people. So when Karthikeyan reached out to me regarding this group, we discussed a few things, and we end up that yeah, I can able to speak regarding the design system, uh, which is a booming topic maybe before 2 years from now. Uh, Today, as of now, design system has evolved into a next level. Every design team in the world started acquiring their own design system for their own use cases. I guess I'm loud enough and my screen is visible, right?
Yes, Fayaz.
Okay. So shall we start?
Yes, can
Okay, fine. So when it comes to the design system, many people, including myself, have misunderstood the basic concept. Why the design system actually need to exist in a design process or actually need to exist within an organization. Uh, what we see the design system is something a bunch of components uh, which designers use to design the pages, layouts, etc. And where the developers take those things and they start developing the front end thing. So this actually leads to a basic misunderstanding that it's truth is a source of truth where it is played with the consistency. So right, uh, the design system which has many UI components is usually to take it as a consistency one. For example, let's say if you don't have a consistency over the pages in your site or over the screens in the mobile app, the user does not know whether they are actually switching the screens in the same app or they are switching in the other apps. So, for example, the brand comes with the consistency. For example, let me take WhatsApp as example. So, for example, the first screen looks in a different way, and the inner chat screen looks in a different way. So, it doesn't give a sense to the user that the both screens are actually belonging to WhatsApp. So designers started designing the screens or designing the pages in the website in a more consistency way so that their brand will be whole in all the pages and user does not want to uh, be confused, be in a confused state when they are switching to next screens. So for this only, we need a consistency over design. So design system is not meant to give a consistency over designs or over designers or over dev teams. The design system has actually brought into the case for scaling purpose. So I would like to coin a term called scaling here. So the scaling actually meant to be referring to the quantity of screens that we have in a design system, sorry, in a entire design. For example, let's say I recently designed a mobile app which has screens around, which has 146 plus screens. So designing a mobile app with around 100 plus screens needs a single source of truth for all the style guides, for all the grid levels, for all the UI components to be in the same way. For example, uh, if I design a button that looks in a blue color in a first page, and if I design the same button that looks with a black color in the 100th page, so that doesn't make sense to the user. So user usually gets confused with over the displacement of UI components. So to resolve that and to enable the scaling of the entire design, the design system has taken a very big lead in the design process. So in a simple way, for example, let's consider automobile industry. Uh, every automobile industry has different models of cars. Every car has a uh, different features with respect to the engines, with respect to the interior design, with respect to the exterior design, etc. But the core concept that undergoes along with the drivers, as in case the users, will be the same. For example, let's say we have the three pedals, accelerator, brakes, and then clutch. So these three things will be same in every cars that we have, just to just to make sure that every drivers do not need to learn a different way of driving in a different cars. So the driving has to be in a similar way for every models, for every car models, but we can able to add on the features in a different way. For example, we can add the speed or the engine source in a different cars, but the pedals will remain same. So similarly, while we design or while we develop the interfaces for the users, the consistency need to be same regardless of the scaling. So let's take example here. I have two screens here. So first screen is the Instagram one. So that asks the users to enter based on the whether they can able to sign up or they can able to log in. So consider that I am clicking the sign up button in the bottom. When I click the sign up button, consider that the next screen looks like this in the left hand side. So if you experience this motion, the user definitely confuses that this is some other app that I'm logging into. It's because the color theory or the branding does not goes in the same way, right? So consider this explaining to 100 designers working in a organization. For example, let's take the Instagram itself. For example, Instagram has around 500 plus designers all over its organization. So consider that telling every designer that we need to have the padding of 16 pixels in both the sides. Sorry, we need to have padding of 16 pixel for each placeholders. So consider that saying it to the 500 people. It does not make sense that uh, it does not make sense to tell 500 times for every designer when they onboard newly. And we can make sure that no designers will be uh, having the most responsible thing to do that. So when it comes to scaling, we have to reduce the number of times we talk about the similar things. So for that purpose, the design system has taken place, and yes. So the basic misunderstand that we made in by seeing the design system. So for example, we everyone knows about the material design system. We everyone, I guess everyone here knows about the Tailwind CSS. Tailwind CSS has a design system that is built as a theming purpose. For example, let's say it is built in a purpose that every people can use this theme in their organization. So, for example, let's take a single component called breadcrumbs. So, Tailwind has four different kinds of breadcrumbs. So, you can see this in my screen. One, two, three, four. It has four different types of styles in a breadcrumb. So, this Tailwind CSS has built in a way to address all the people uh, to use this breadcrumbs. So, regardless of the particular organization, regardless of the particular mindset in developing the UI components. So Tailwind has given the four choices to choose for us. So this is kind of a theming purpose. When you go into an actual product and you actually build a design system for a single product, you usually don't have four different kinds of breadcrumbs. You usually have a single breadcrumb, or for the worst case, you have two breadcrumbs. So you cannot go with the three, four plus breadcrumb style because it doesn't make sense to have four different kinds of breadcrumbs for a single product. So yeah, this is a breadcrumb UI component for GitHub. So GitHub uses the single breadcrumb pattern for all over the product. So when you see the difference between the design system that a theming framework does and a design system that actual product does. So you may have the difference between 4:1, right? So this is what actually the design system will be in a product, or this is what the design teams build as a design system. So what I'm trying to convey here is whatever the design system we see in a particular framework, or we see with the docs that other teams releases, it all belongs to their own mindsets, it all belongs to their own purpose. So don't try to start with the same layout or start with the same mindset in your product too. So for example, if you are designing a product and you need a button, please consider the situations that you for your product. If your product just can handle with a single button, please have a single button in your design system rather than having a bunch of buttons just to go with the hands of a theming design system, right? So for example, yeah, I made a timeline when you can start designing, or when you can start assembling UI components as a design system, right? Uh, Usually, you don't start entire design with the design system as a starting point. So you usually go with designing the separate UI components, which may have typography in it, which may have a grid in it, which may have the pixel in it, which may have the color in it, which may have the individual styles, for example, which may have strokes in it, etc. So try designing or try building a single component or try building a bunch of components that you actually need in your product. So when you are trying those single components, try with the variations that you need, that you may try in your product. So after trying different variations, please freeze a particular variation that you actually need, and then you can start building or you can start assembling those components and you start building your design system. So let me give an example that I have worked recently in my design. So this is actually the few components that I have in my that I have designed. So for example, if you take a full name, first name and then last name as a two tab, and then having a uh, tabular way of multiple choice question, and then we can have a tags for the same multiple choice question, and then we are having a stepper for a single question. So these are the four variations, or we can say the four different types of components that I need in my entire app. So this individual components is going to be repeated in all the screens, right? So I may have the same input field in my onboarding screens. I may have the same kind of UI component in my inner app screens, right? So these are the first variations that I created, and then we had a discussion regarding whether to have this or whether we need to move into a different versions of it. So considering the accessibility of the user, considering the visual design of the brand and etc., I redesigned, I made a version with the similar for the similar components, right? So after the line, these are the version 2. So above the line, these are the version 1 components, these are the version 2 components. Please let me remind you that there is no design system as built in this category. So this is just the individual components, just trying out whether this works or not with the entire app. So in my version 2, considering all the feedbacks from the stakeholders, all the feedback from my fellow design people, I redesigned the entire component. Let's say the tabular, let's say the placeholder in a tabular or in a container format goes with the single line. The multiple question with the four tabs goes into the bottom sheet kind of thing. The similar with the gender question, and then we started to we try to eliminate the switch and we try to bring the stepper here. These all four variations have uh, the unique reasons why we need a different variation from the version 1, right? So this is kind of the version that we need, and we freeze these components and we try to build the design system based on these components. So coming back to the steps, I first started designing the variants that I actually need. I try to freeze the components that I need to replicate in all my 146 plus screens. And then after freezing these four components, I try to build a design system based on this component. So you can see that the design system actually comes into the design process when your product or when your design is actually going to scale, right? So it does not occupy in a design process when you're starting your design or when you're starting your the entire product, right? So design system comes only when the app is going to scale. So let me tell you the greater advantage of having the design system in your entire product. So first thing is you have the single source of place where you can see all the UI components, where you can see all the style guides, where you can see all the typographies used in the entire app, where you can able to see the all the colors that you are going to use in the entire app. And then you know what are the things that we have, and you can define what are the things you need to build in the future, right? One more thing, the design system does not gives you a constraint that you should not go beyond the design system. The design system is always erasable. You can always come back to the design system. You can always eliminate the UI component that doesn't work or that doesn't scale in your future. You can always redo the design components that you need. It does not mean that you should always get into the design system and start revolving around the design system. You should always be out of box. You can always take the reference from the design system, and it is not meant that you should always follow the design system. A better designer or a better developer needs to know when you have to break the design system, right? So as we have seen earlier, this is my first version of variations, and the middle one goes with the second version of variations. The major advantage of the design system is I actually made a little tweaks in my own components to meet the accessibility of the users. So the particular constraint that I had, this app is for the people uh, with the age of 35 plus. So those people could not able to keenly read uh, the text in the mobile screens. So I started involving a bigger font sizes so that it replicates in the all components. For example, let's say I have used the second component in around 20 in around 20 screens. So if I don't make this as a individual component, and if I don't make this into a design system, I have to repeat the same variation in 20 times. For example, let's say I need to increase the font size from 15 px to 18 px. So I need to change the font size in all the 20 screens that I actually have the bottom sheet one, right? So if I have a design system and if I have a component library, I can change in a single place where it is reflected in all the 15 or 20 screens. So this is a greater advantage of design system, where it helps to scale the design, not to have the consistency in design, right? Consistency always goes with the designers or goes with the styles and not with the design system. Design system is only meant for scaling purpose. And if you come next, so you have to understand whether you need a design system or not at the first case, and you can have a discussion with your team members, or you can have a discussion with your fellow stakeholders whether we need a design system or not. For example, you have a web page that have only 4 screens. You may don't need a design system for that, because you don't have much reusable components to use, so that you can always come back and redo. You don't really need a design system. In my case too, if I had to design app which has only 10 screens or 12 screens instead of having 140 screens, I don't really go into the design system and waste my time and energy in building a design system and having a better pattern, right? So design system always comes when you cannot control the scale of the design. So coming back to the design system, how you can start the design system. So you spoke with your fellow team members and you decided to have, yeah, let's have a design system. Okay, and then you started having versions of UI components and you freeze the UI components, and now you have bunch of UI components that you are going to repeat in all these screens. That's going to be repeated more than 5 times or more than 10 times, which is not controllable. Uh, so then you need to understand what things you need to list in the design system. For example, uh, coming back to my UI components, I have the typography, and then I have the color that I'm going to use. The blue is my primary color. And then I have the spacing, I have the grid system. So considering these all the things, I have to build a typography, I have to build a color theory, I have to build a spacing guide, I have to build the tone for the components that I use. So I guess many people know about typography, color theory, and spacing guide. The tone is a new term which defines how your app or how your design going to convey to your users. So in simple terms, let me tell you an example. For example, uh, you have a button where it has a type case. For example, let's say you have a button with the word called get started. uh, the G has a uppercase and started S has a uppercase. So that is a tone for a button. So if you set the tone, when a new designer joins your team and the new designer needs to use a CTA button in his or her design, so they don't need to go, or they don't need to have a confused state whether they need to go with the uppercase or they need to go with the lowercase, or they need to go with all the letters as the uppercase. So to chunk down those chaotic moment, we need to set the tone for each UI component. So coming back to my screen, I would have used the tone for every component that I use. The same tone for every component that I use. Let's say a placeholder text, the label text has the similar kind of tone where every placer has the same kind of tone. The bottom sheet has a different kind of tone, so I have to repeat the same tone in all my bottom sheets. So kind of these are the basic kind of small pieces that you can start with the design system, right? You may have the different kind of typography, you may have the different kind of color theories, and in spacing guide usually meant to be the grid sizes that you are going to use in your entire design, the pixels that you are going to use in a entire design, the margins that you are going to use in an entire design. Usually many design teams today will follow the four pixel grids, 4 pixel spacings or 8 pixel spacings, and then tone, as I said before. So considering these things, you can build as atoms. So this is kind of these 4 topics: atoms, components, organism, and page. This comes with the a whole bunch of new topic called atomic design. So you have everything in your hand, and you are trying to combine those things in a meaningful form to make your basic UI components, right? So atomic design comes with the basic understandable theme called you have similar boxes, you have small boxes, right? You need to have those small boxes, you need to combine those small boxes into a bigger box. You can have that bigger box within another bigger box. You can have that bigger box as a page, right? For example, let me tell you an example. uh, yeah, consider this screen. uh, so this screen has a placeholder with the placeholder text inside it. Consider a search bar where you have the search icon inside the placeholder with the text called search. So here, considering this basic component, the icon will be a single atom. The placeholder will be a single atom. So you will be combining both single atoms into components, right? So when you take the search bar and you place it in a modal, or you place it in a upper screen, or you place it in a search screen, so you are trying to combine a single component with all other multiple components. Let's say a model has the search bar, and the model has the recent search tags, and the model has the search uh, texts or the recent searches. So the recent searches will be a component. The search bar will be another component. So combining these two components will be an organism. So you can consider this as a Lego blocks, right? Starting with a single Lego block, and then you are trying to build the whole bunch of bigger blocks with the all small kind of Lego blocks. So the individual Lego blocks will be your atom. Obviously, the page is considering. When you combine all these things, you will get a page. uh, Let me come back to you with the first basic things, right? The typography, color theory, spacing, and guide and tone. So this is the screenshot. That this is a screenshot of my color theory and my typography that I used in my app to design. So you can see that I have a single tone for my blue, just blue 600. I have six tones for my gray. I have one tone for black, one tone for white. Similarly, going through all the colors, you can see that my color, my tones, the number of tones that I have is based on my individual opinion. For example, let's say I don't use the tones, the breaking tones of blue in all the screens. I just use, say, a single blue tone in all my screens. So I don't really need to have all the tones for my blue. I can just have a single tone for my blue. So when you just compare this with the actual design system that you see in websites, or that you see in framework, or that you see in themed design systems, you may have lots of bunch of themes. For example, Tailwind has all 90 shades. Sorry, Tailwind has all 10 shades starting from 50, 100 to 900. So they may have all the 10 shades in every color. You don't really need to have all the 10 shades for every color in your design system too. So the point here is you can have the colors that you're actually using in your designs or in your product. You don't really need to have all the bunch of tones for all the colors. So I just use two tones for orange. So I can only have two tones for orange. I don't really need to have all the 10 tones for orange, right? So similarly with the typography, you don't really need to have all the typography scales that you may see in the theming design systems, themed design system. I just have a single bold typography, so I can have the single bold typography. I don't really need to have all the bold typography in all the pixels, right? And then coming back to the next topic, the next section, right? Atoms, components, organism, and pages, the atomic design. So as I said before, you will be playing with these small pieces of basic components in your UI, and then you try to combine those basic UI blocks into a molecule, and those combining molecules will be called as a organism, templates, and then pages. I guess you people are well known about this concept of atomic design. So if you need to know more about atomic design, or if you need to know more about how these components are and how the molecule goes, just search the keyword called atomic design system. You may get the Google result. The first Google result will be the actual publication that the author introduced this. So you can have a brief regarding atomic design. You can have the more references in Google search. So next thing, why we actually, so what is the most advantage that we get from the design system, right? So yeah, we came through about what is design system. We came through about how we can able to include the design system in your design process or in your product process, and then you can able to scale your entire design based on the design system that you have. You can always come back to your design system to redo whenever you need an update, or whenever you need a new component in your design system, right? So what are the major advantages of having a design system? So there was a era where there were no design people for building a website or for building a mobile screen in the beginning of internet era, right? So after a certain period, many organizations realize that we need a certain people who understand the user perspectives, who understand what user actually needs, who understand how they can able to uh, visualize the problems that user actually faces in visually in seeing the interface or in working with the interface or with the functionality that every interface has. So they brought in designers and they brought in UX research people to be with the design to be with the design process. And then they started building the products based on what the designers or the what designers sorry or what the research people have meant to be in a design. So after a certain period thing, the products started to scale. For example, let's say the Spotify has around 7 to 8 products within the organization. So they need to build a more similar way of interfaces with all the 7 to 8 products. And the Spotify has around larger group of teams. So that they need a certain documentation so that every designer or the every uh, developer who joins newly knows or understands quickly about how we use the design, how we use the colors, how we use the pixels, how we use the margins, etc. How much we work with the grid, etc. So they need a certain documentation. So to to make a check mark for documentation and along with the check mark with the scaling, the design systems comes into the play. So after the design system comes into the play, many designers started working with the design system where even developers can able to understand what the design system has. So initially the design system was only meant for the design teams. Only design teams able to know what is actually in the component library, know what's in the color library or style guide or what's in the pattern library, right? So many design teams started to evolve along with the developers to have the reasonable names for all the components so that even developers know and even the coding will be similar with the design system. So at present, the design system is actually meant for both the peoples, the design teams as well as the dev teams. So, for example, let's say I have a bottom sheet where I gave a similar name to it. The same similar name will be used in the class as the class name by the developer team, so that you can able to actually match both design versus development code, so that you have similar kind of patterns followed in the both the different teams, right? So if I have made a small change in a bottom sheet, the developers will also undergo with the same change in bottom sheet. So the major advantage is that a single change is meant for both the teams in a similar way, right? So we can able to cut down the knowledge sharing. We can able to cut down the chaos when designs meet with the developers, right? So the developers have whole understanding what the basic components look like and how we can able to modify it, right? So the another major perspective is that the documentation process. You don't really this is having a design system in your design is the most better way to make documentation for all your design process, right? uh, this design system has the basic documentation for your style guides, the basic documentation for your UI components, the basic design system the basic documentation for your branding and etc. So there will be a single source of truth where you can able to combine both the design team as well as the developers team, and you can also able to combine the newbies that joining in your organization to follow the undergoing design process, undergoing development process in your organization. So this is where the design system comes to the place. This is where the design system gives the whole bunch of more advantages to the organizations. So yeah, this is a quick information about design system, how we misunderstood what's actually the design system is, and how myself have undergone various process, how myself undergone various how I try to design my style guides, how I try to design my products, and how it has helped me in having the most common way to hold all the teams in your organization. So uh, this is like evolving process. So you can always I'm trying to figure out what type of design system will actually looks good for my organization or looks good for my team. So I'll be constantly evolving through my process. I'll be discussing with my developers. I used to develop, sorry, I used to design the core UI products that can resemble both the teams. So this is the whole concept why the design system, why many teams acquire their own design systems, and how it has more benefits to the how we can able to reduce the chaotic moments within the teams, right? Yeah, I think that's what I mean. So if you people have any questions or any doubts regarding the design system, you can throw a question to me. I can able to answer it. Hello, do you people have any questions?
You can feel free to unmute yourself to ask questions, everyone. I think if nobody has any questions at the moment, you can still reach out to Fayaz, on social media or any other medium that Fayaz is available on and comfortable with communicating. So we can wrap up this session and move to the next talk we have.
Is it audible, Dinesh?
Yes, Vivek.
Okay. Hi, Fayaz. Nice presentation. So I have a small question. Can you make a small demo on making some changes on the atoms that reflects in the pages so that the front-end developers can understand what is the design system?
Yeah, got it. Mm, One minute. I cannot able to make changes in my existing design file.
Okay, understood,
But
Fayaz.
yeah, but I can still able to make a new thing and I can able to, yeah, 1 minute. Give me a second.
So if it takes time means that's not a problem.
No, it doesn't take much time. 1 minute. So my screen is visible, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So this is Figma. This is where this is the most recent booming design tools that every designers have. Earlier, the designer had Adobe, Photoshops, and then we moved to Sketch, and here we landed to Figma. So yeah, so consider this as a button. So where clicking this button will move to the next screen. So consider the same button I have in, let's say, in around 10 to 12 pages. So right, in a course of time, I started using, or I started building the design for over the course of time, and I realized that the 16px is not accessible to the users. So I need to increase it as around 18px or around 20px, so that every user can able to read the actual text in it. So when you are not making a design system, or when you're we designer usually tell a single UI component as, sorry, a single UI element as a component, right? So a component can be a single piece that a design system has. So if I don't have a component, so let me tell you what is the greater advantage of having component. So I need a 18px. So when I change here, every every button in my design usually changes. So it also goes with the style. For example, if I'm changing the color, every buttons in all design screens will actually change according to my criteria. So right, so this can reduce my workload of changing individually, going to individual screens. Around here we have 11 screens, right? So I don't want to change 11 times uh, the typography or the text color. So I can change in a single stage. The all the design changes that I have made will be reflected in all my screens, or in all my variants that I have. So right, so the basic concept here is that here the design actually scales. If I have two screens, or if I have three screens, the design does not scale. So if you have more screens, the design actually scales. So if the design scales, you actually need a component library, so that every change you make uh, will be applicable, or will be changed into all the respective components, so that you don't have to repeat the same process every time. For example, for example, here I need to change a typography, and I need to change the color as well. So right, if we have 10 CTA buttons, so that I need to change 20 times, for 10 times for typography and 10 times for color. So I can cut down those 20 steps, and I can able to complete it with the two-step process. So this can be a bigger process if you have around 146 screens, right? So you have to change around 80 times a single change. You need to apply you need to apply a single change at 80 times. So this is what really the more benefits of design system, and having a component library in a design system. I guess I answered your question, Vivek.
Yeah, nice, Fayaz.
So anything else?
No, Fayaz. Maybe Dinesh, can you please take over?
Yes,
Dinesh?
yeah,
Thanks.
audible. Okay, so if nobody has any questions, uh, we can move on to the next session. Thank you so much, Fayas. It was really, an insightful session that you presented on the design system. So, if you have, any clarifications even further after the, sessions are over, you can definitely reach out to Fayas over social media. You can easily find him by just googling him, right? So he has a lot of he is already present on various design-based social media platforms as well. Thank you so much, Fayas.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Yeah,
Thank you.
bye.
So, bye, Fayas. So next we are having Regu with us. So Regu is a designer at Trust Race. So Regu is going to speak to us about the world of UX. Right. So uh, uh, without much delays, I would like to hand it over to Regu. Please, Regu.
Thank you, Dinesh. So let me present my screen. Um, just a minute. So is the screen is visible?
Yes, Raghu. I can able to see your screen.
Thank you. So first of all, thanks to Coimbatore Frontend Group for organizing this event and letting me to speak here. And so before getting started, I like to introduce myself. Like I'm a UI UX designer at Trust Race. So I'm just going to like give a little bit of like my thoughts about like world of UX, like where it's get evolving and what are the things to follow to be a good UX designer. So let me just get started with what world of UX would be. So in the first, like we'll just start with like UX. So what's basically a UX is. So let's take a good example, like apart from UX. So let's take an example of filmmaking, right? So filmmaking, which involves the things like the cinematography, the script, and the music composing, and the art direction, right? So which is the process that comes under the filmmaking. So similar to that, under UX we have much process which comes under like UX, like how these things are will be like going under the process of UX design. So in the first thing we'll have like information architecture. So where we will deciding the information, like what are the information like to show to the user using the platform or the application things. And so for a good example, it'd be like for a sign up page and a sign in page. And for sign up we'll have information like name and email thing. And for a sign in we'll have things like only mail and password. So it's not like good to have a name, getting a name from the user in a sign in page, right? So those things can be decided in the session of like information architecture. So and the next thing is visual design. So which basically similar to like a graphic design. So where iconography comes in, and the vector designs that you see in the websites and platforms. So so those things are like comes under the visual design. So functionality in the sense like how it going to be like function. So how the user is going to be viewed after clicking something, and the function of the application, right? So those things will be like explained and or defined in the functionality. So and next like usability, where the user the measure of the user like how achieving their goal, right? So how the user achieved their goal, and how can be the how can it be, so something like that. And the typography is like the typefaces and the text like you are seeing in a application or a website. So whether it can be like sans serif or a sans, so those things can be decided. in a typographical phase. So like more contrasting typography will be a more satisfying for the users, right? So those things will be decided in a typographical phase. And finally the user interface comes in, where the buttons, the fields, and interface things kind of comes in to the stage. And finally the content, moreover in other words, content strategy also followed in the UX process. So a good example would be in a platform or application, it's good to have previous and next button than having back and next button. So the content back will be tending to the user to move from backwards the whole back, and it's in a pagination it's better to have a previous and next, right? So those kind of content strategies will be decided in the content phase. So and finally the interaction design, so where the user will interact with the digital devices, how accessible the button is, and those kind of stuffs will be decided. So and the next thing where it's started is these things are started from the digital devices, like the camera, even the tablets and mobile devices and laptop things. So it's a good example is it's easy to find a cab in a doorstep, in our doorstep. It's not easy, right? If we use some digital devices like mobile device or a laptop, it can be easy for us to have a cab at a doorstep. So that solves the problem, right? So uh, that's where it started, how we can experience the digital devices to solve the problem. So uh, and the next thing is where the user experience is moving forward with it is in automobile industries, and not only digital products, but it's also living in the automobile industry, even eating food habits, and also the shopping, right? So when we go on for shopping, most thing we actually see in the first is ice creams and chocolates, right? So those things will attract the kids. And yeah, also the the cart we have, right, the back basket will be given, right? So those things are comes under the user experience, where we experiencing the shopping stuffs and things. So and next, so we'll go a deep dive into the automobile, how an automobile industry can use the UX design. So if you see the above image, this is a car dashboard from an our car that we have seen in a real life nowadays. And so it's really complex to use this interface while driving, right? So uh, but if you see the down kind of a dashboard that's used in Tesla or something, which is a artificial intelligence enabled dashboard, right? So which can be easily accessible even while driving. So even if we have to control the temperature in a car, we just need to call the AI and do it, right? So it's better than doing it on a button or a volume round stuff, right? So so this is where even Benz and Audi are using user experiences in their car and automobile stuff. So and next thing would be I like to talk about the AR, VR, and MR and XR. So what these things will do is making the things that are real to the user who is experiencing it. So So AR, which is an augmented reality, and VR, which is virtual reality, and MR, which is a mixed reality, and XR is a extended reality. So, and according to like extended reality, which is in still developing, and so we'll see like what are these rich realities and why it comes in the UX. So, so if you take like a AR application, so there's like one app called Pokemon Go game. So which is really AR application, like which gives you um, some more experiences in gaming, playing games, and VR applications like training a fireman, and HoloLens for MR application, and XR application, like we'll show in brief in next slide. So yeah, this is an AR application where the experiences like the real world thing, like we can able to see a dog going, but which is not a real, but it's an augmentedly 3D object which is placed on your screen, right? So so these are the like AR applications. So this can be like AR can be used in like medical related things where we can teach something like how to do a surgery, and also something like that, and even like entertainment and gaming stuffs. So when we go on to the virtual reality, um, if you see the image, a guy who is playing, who is demonstrating or showing like how to behave, or how to save from a fire in a building, inside a building, right? So he gets trained by in a virtual reality than in a real life. It's a bit hard to put a fire and push someone into the fire and train it, right? So instead of doing that, we can able to like virtually create an environment where the fire is in the building, and uh, train the firemen and stuff. So that's what virtual reality I came in. And the mixed reality, which is combining both augmented reality and virtual reality. So where so the good example would be like HoloLens from Microsoft. So which allows the object to place inside any room, and make interact with it. So uh, the image like you can see is like it's a like a simple example of like how HoloLens works. So this also like gives a better experience where the user can be able to like maybe like watch a movies as in a real time, or think about like in a manufacturing unit, like they can able to define like where the problem arises, and how to unscrew some screw in machines or stuffs, and something like that. So these tutorials can be like teach via the HoloLens and things. Yeah. And the next thing is mixed reality. I think like in internet, like say it's like moreover it's still in a development stuff. Like it may also may be used in the retailer shops, where if you want to buy some watch, and you can able to like try that watch before you buy it, right? So try, and you can also like able to like interact with the watch, like removing, and how it going to like placed in your hand, and how you are going to like wear. So those kind of experience, like you can have it from extended reality. So good example, like more good example is like Iron Man, right? So which we can able to like control the real world and the virtual world, and even the machineries by with one kind of technology which is extended reality. So, and this is what like these are the four really like blooming experiences that's in a future industry. So, yeah, oh my god. And yeah, so why it's comes under UX, right? So these technologies like give the experience to the user before they acquire it on something. Like they can able to like virtually create their own imaginations and experiencing those stuffs in a virtual manner, right? So which is an unreal thing, but we can also like experience it, right? So this also like comes under an experiencing things. So also like there are some uh, cons in this UX that we are still facing, right? So those things where we get like bad experience is things like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, right? Like, they are not giving a really bad experience, but at one point of view, so they might like having like giving a bad experience, right? So if you take an example like a TikTok, it gives really a good experience by scrolling. But if we scroll down a day, full day, 24 hours a day, will people are still scrolling up. So it really gives a bad experience, right? So I'll show like how to uh, like follow some ethics in those designs in a future slides. Um, so if you take an Instagram as an example, people are more likely to get a more likes for their post, and it's due to like for getting a likes, the people it turns into like getting a likes the people are posting their stories and post. So not everyone does this, but uh, still there are some kids in my area and in my places or neighbor, still there are kids who are like addicted to it. And even when you go into the Twitter, right? So uh, where even recently we had a news like Donald Trump has been blocked for violating some tweets and things. So if you get into a Twitter, like moreover, like it's kind of a blaming tweets over everywhere, not everywhere. Like some of the tweets, some are good in these three platform. Like some of things are good, but we need to like figure out like how we can reduce those bad experience that we need to give it before the user acquiring it. So yeah. So the thing is, they are all giving bottomless design. So and making the people addicted to it, right? So same thing, similar thing like I talked before. The bottomless, like people scroll down the page and scrolling down. That makes the people too addicted to it, right? So by introducing this bottomless, like people are likely getting like addicted to it. So so I got some research on online where ResearchGate. I uh, posted a link to that research in this Bitly link. You can go and check it out. And more than like 73% of people consumes more soup in an auto refilling bowl than it's served by the servers, right? So if you see that post on the internet, like the research goes on, like there are 73 people more 73% of more people who consume more soup by auto refilling. So the bowl that auto refills itself and not by served by the servers, right? So this is a kind of a like gluttony, but compare this experience with the UI UX so stuff. So it's similar to like what we have now on the three platforms that I explained it before. So, I just got this on internet. This page, like this UI, where it says to the user to spend if he reached the level of usage or like a digital well-being stuff. Like uh, if you see the here, the button says like spend the next 20 minutes. So it triggers the user to um, click in, but it also teaches you have been spending a 20 minutes of our platform. So you want to like click and go to the next 20 minutes of scrolling. So yeah, I think this experience like a bit of good. Also, like if we have something like cancel here, I think it will be good. Like it says, actually really says don't click me, right? So this is a like really a bad experience. Like if you click on like don't click me, people would will be like able to like, click here and go and spend the next 20 minutes. So back to the UX. So uh, what we have now is like a really kind of like addicted experience all over the applications. So you need to build some ethics to it, right? So some of the like ethics that can be followed is like we should like build the things that respects some human rights, that can be like sustainable and secure things, and even productive manner. And instead of instead of implementing a digital well-being applications, each and every application can be able to give the digital well-being experience in every applications, right? So also like we should not stop there by respecting human rights. We also build the things by like convenient and reliable by respecting like human efforts, how the efforts are putting to use your application, how user is going to be gained by using this application and things. So also we should also like make the user like delightful by respecting their experience, and also like by satisfying their needs. So this is the like next generation of world of UX should be, right? So these are the things that we really need to follow the ethics where design things and comes in. And yeah, I think let's make more like 20 minutes of talk from my side. And I think you should also like follow will be also like follow the ethics that I have showed you before. So if you have any suggestions, like queries and questions, like you can ask now.
We are good, Raghu.
Okay.
So you spoke about AR, right, Raghu?
Yeah.
So can you give some, you know, commercial use cases of AR examples where uh, I know it's in its early infancy, but what are the places you can commercially leverage it?
Yeah, I think like we can, if you are going for a furniture shop, so you can, before getting into the furniture shop, the furniture shop can be publishing like an application where we can um, experience their furnitures inside our home, right? So that will be like good example. And for student cases, we can able to like the kids we are nowadays or even like more attracted to mobile devices, so we can able to like teach them via the AR devices where how a elephant looks and things, even while in the COVID times, right? So we can't able to like go to the zoo and teach the children to how it zebra or how the elephant looks like, but instead of this we can able to like teach them how the experience, like how the animals look like, and how it can be big and things. So that's a good example. Maybe like, and Karthikeyan or something said, like dress and hair salon. Yeah, I think experiencing a dress, going into a shop before experiencing a dress and things. I think
Thank you.
So then next, I just send you like on better the keyword from Brinch van Carling, who is a like vice president of IBM. So this course really like uh, really like I liked it really. So the thing is, like last and best experience that anyone has anywhere becomes the minimum expectation for the experience that they want like everywhere, right? So if I'm having a mobile device, so if I'm going to like buy a new one, so I would be like expecting the same or the above experience, right? So if it's I will not be like going down on experience, right? So if you're having a like 4 GB of RAM and its experience is good, so I'll be like expecting the more of 4 GB or the 4 similar to it, right? So that's what like it explains. So I think that's it from my side. Like, thank you all. Thank you CFG for hosting this event and letting me talk here.
Thank you so much, Raghu. So, as you can see on the screen of the screenshot by Raghu, his website is fullmealdesigner.myportfolio.com. You can also find Raghu on various other social media networks by the same name, Full Meal Designer. So he's done a lot of fantastic work that you can actually Google and see it for yourself. If you want to collaborate with Raghu on any independent work, you can also contact him from his portfolio website. So thank you so much, Raghu.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone. So it was great having completely design-based sessions for the day. So uh, with that, I would like to thank everyone who has taken their time to participate in today's sessions. Again, we will be running the raffle for the JetBrains licenses. So we are also working to with other design based products, right? So we can raffle them at the events as well, because we are having a lot of designers off late participating in our meetups. So we would like to get new products that are proving to be productive for designers and developers. So hopefully in the next meetup we will be able to add more design related products that we will be able to raffle to participating designers. And as usual, we will be announcing the raffle winners on our Telegram channel. So if anyone is not yet on Telegram, you can ping one of the organizers in order to add yourself to the Telegram group. So thanks to TrustRace for sponsoring the event. So if you don't know about TrustRace so far, you should definitely check out our website trustrace.com to know more about us, what we do, around sustainability. So and also thanks to JetBrains for sponsoring free licenses for the participating developers. Thank you so much. Would you like to add anything, Karthikeyan, Thiru?
No, Dinesh, I think this is good. So everyone, happy weekend ahead.
Yeah. Happy weekend, everyone, and happy New Year as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So thank you. That's all. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Dinesh. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.